Hey guys, Mel the Train Tutor here again with another foam board tutorial for you. And this time, last time we looked at adding texture with PVA glue and grit, watered down PVA. Today we're going to be, we're going to be making up some textured paint. Now a quick note on the foam board builds. We've been doing a lot of foam board builds recently. We're getting quite close to finishing off the playlist for now. I.e. there's quick builds done and the big build that's sitting over there staring at me saying, finish me, finish me. I know I'm full of tedious little jobs, but finish me. Yeah. And it won't be long before we move on to something else, hopefully a bit more greener. Definitely a bit more greener, to be perfectly honest. I'm getting sick and tired of seeing the bloody stuff. Pardon my French. A friend of mine turned around and said, hey, you know those tutorials? Yeah, we should follow them and make a city build. I almost killed him. So I'd like to get these foam board builds finished off. So I've got a complete collection showing you, from start to finish with quick builds and the impressive build, and then we'll move on. Yeah. Oh, calm. Right. Textured paint. So let's talk about textured paint for a second. Now, obviously, yeah, we've thrown texture onto this one with watered down PVA and grit. Okay, and we did that specifically so we could spray paint this build. Yeah. Now, a quicker way of doing it, if you intend to use brushwork, is to actually mix your texture in with your paint. Okay. Now, when it comes to the texture, I'm using Gale Force 9's fine grit because same as the other one, it's the only tub of fine grit I have. All my other grits have been sort of mixed into a mixed grit, and there's elements in them that are just sort of too thick, for texturing walls. Now, there are other ways of texturing walls, and I'll be covering things like filler and that sort of stuff on the big build, guys, yeah? Because I want to use that for the big build. But this one, we're covering textured paint. Now, when it comes to the paint, I am using cheap and nasty Wilko, which is sort of like a Walmart brand in the UK. They've nothing to do with Walmart, but it's a basic budget, home store. Yeah, these are £1 tester pots, and it's just a grey. And I've got some PVA. Now, you include PVA with the mix to help the grit bond to the glue. Okay, bond to the paint, because the paint, although it'll help hold it in place slightly, it won't really stick to it. So adding a bit of PVA will help increase keep the grit stuck to stuck to the paint, especially for when we dry brush and cover this in the how to paint quick builds tutorial, which I'm doing next, and then I'll be putting these up for good. Calm, boss, calm. It's almost done. Right, so let's talk about tools. Okay, le brush. Bog standard house brush bought from a hobby, a DIY place. Where you buy like a set of 3 or 4 for, a quid or something like that. It's nothing special. Yeah, water, tissue. I've also got a damp rag here. Yeah, just because obviously paint's going to get messy. I am going to end up painting my green bit. Yeah, and I really should put something down, but if I do, it's going to mess around with me lighting. So I'm just going to say sod it, and I'll get some on there, and I'll clean it up afterwards with a rag. So don't worry, it's all right. It's my table. I can get it dirty if I want to. Right, so let's mix up some textured paint. So here I've got my texture pot. Here, not my texture pot, my paint. Yeah, and there you are. As you can see, it's about just under a third full. Yeah, and there's plenty in there to do this build, and there's no point me completely contaminating a complete tub for the sake of doing doing one building. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some grit in. Okay. Picture that. Now, you don't have to use grit. You can use flock. You can use, wood shavings. I've heard of people using metal shavings, but anything that's small little bits. Okay, you want to keep them small for this, yeah, for the specific reason. Let me just put a bit more in there, getting adventurous. Yeah, and I've put about that much in. Okay, next up I need a stirrer, so I'll grab one of these. Yeah, a little stirrer. Yeah, and I'll start stirring this in, and I haven't mixed in the PVA yet. Okay, because I just want to see what it looks like before I do. It's getting quite textury. Yeah, and when you look at it, you can see it looks like paint with bumps. Yeah, you can't actually see the grit because it's completely coated, but it makes it go like sort of bitty and lumpy, and I can't, without grossing you out from the medical field, I can't really describe it. There's a few things I could describe it as, but I'm not going to tell you guys. It'll gross you out. Okay, so a bit of PVA. Dirty birdie. Kill the birdie. Yeah, there you are. Almost about a layer of it in there. I mean, you don't have to put massive amounts. Yeah, so that's about a layer of the tub thick. Yeah, and we give it another stir and get this PVA mixed in. Now, it will lighten up the actual grey a little because it's white, but remember it dries clear, so it won't affect the end colour that much. Yeah, but it will make the paint tougher, and it's far better as a way of sealing and base coating it. So there we have it. Now, before I put it on the building, what I'm going to do is I have a proverbial piece of scrap foam board, and I say a proverbial because quite simply there's no such thing as a scrap piece of foam board. You save every bit and they are always useful. Yeah, but what I'm going to do is very quickly on this proverbial bit of scrap, see what I'm wasting for you guys, my scrap. Yeah, I'm just going to give it a go. Yeah, and if you look at it, ooh, let's see if I can get there you go. Yeah, there's a bit of texture to it, but probably want just a little more. Okay, because the spacings between them are probably between 1 centimetre and 5 mil. Yeah, so add just a little more. I don't want it too much. I don't want it to look like the damn thing's pebble dashed. So add a little bit more. There you go. Not even a layer's worth. I'll give it a good stir in. And you can save textured paint, of course. You know, if you do want to make a big tub of it up, yeah, there's no reason why you can't save it. You know, just put the lid on, label it up as textured paint, and save it for builds. You know, and if you do end up doing a large city build, which, you know, to be truthful, I'm probably going to end up doing at some point, because, you know, we need one. What you call it? Then there's no reason why you can't mass produce in advance, is there, guys? So put this on. That's looking better. There you go. Now if I do that and hold it up, yeah, if I hold it like that, you should be able to see the texture better. So there's still a lot of spacing, but there's a good amount of texture compared to that side. So I think this will just about do me. It has clumped up a little, so I'll give it another quick stir. Break it up a bit. Now, unlike the PVA version, with this where you can scratch off the little bits if it's too much and too clumps. Yeah, when you do textured paint, it's sort of, once it's on, guys. Yeah, so you need to accept that as a fact. So you really do need to make sure that you really are happy with the look of the texture on a test piece before you put it on your models. Yeah, because if you put it on your builds, once it's on, it's on. So what I'm going to do is very quickly, I'm probably just going to do one quick wall for this, and then we'll skip ahead so you can see the finished build. Okay, so all down here. Now it doesn't have to give a complete coating. You can keep going till it's complete, okay? But quite often, you know, with these sort of things, it's a two-coating job, yeah? Or specifically, you know, coat once with your textured and then coat again with your normal grey. Yeah, so you don't put it on too heavily. Now, as you can see, it's a bit awkward doing it this way, i.e. with the camera there. So I just want to quickly, yeah, put it on. And you should be able to see the sort of texture coming out on it now. In fact, let's just do this corner so you can see that, and then I can skip ahead. In fact, I'll do this corner as well, and we'll just do this corner of the build, and then that'll give you a good idea of what it looks like. When you do pick up a lot of paint on your brush with a blob, it tends to blob the grit together as well. So just make sure you spend a little while spreading that initial blob out. Yeah, so you get an even coating of grit. Yeah, just work it in. I'm using this to base coat all my rocks and my base as well. Basically, I'm going to cover the base and everything. Come on. That one little bit of grit that refuses to paint. Right. I don't think I should subject you to watching me paint a building for much longer. Yeah. So there you have it, guys. There is the first sort of corner done. Okay, and it doesn't take long, and as you can see, it adds a really nice texture. Now I'm going to try and tilt this so you can sort of see that texture. Yeah, and if I switch it to there, I'm getting better holding these models in front of the camera. It's like one of those puzzles where you get a reverse image of something that you've got to draw. Yeah, but there it is, and it's coming together. So what I'm going to do now, guys, is I'm just going to pause the video. I'm going to get this all painted, and I'll bring it back to you when it's wet but covered. Okay, guys? Right, see you in a second, guys. So there we have it, guys. It's all textured up now, and the priority word when you talk about texture paint is texture. And what I mean by that is getting the texture on is your priority, not an even covering. Yeah, so let's take a look at it. I'll show you like that first, and as you can see, it's a bit of a struggle to see the texture. It's still a little bit damp and wet in places, but if I start tilting it up like that, you can start to see the texture on it. Yeah, okay, and that's about enough texture. Now a couple of tips when you're doing this. Okay, one, all the bits that are already glued on, yeah, like this stuff and the base, etc. Remember, when you re-wet those, they'll loosen a little, so expect little bits to come off. Okay, the next thing is when you're applying texture paint, don't do it in long sweeps. Okay, yeah, because all you'll do is you'll put texture first and then you'll sweep the rest clean. What you've got to do is sort of do like a stippling motion, lots of little dabs and little circles and that sort of stuff, and move the texture around. Like I said, you can come back afterwards if you've got a particularly bare area and just stipple some more on and get some more texture on it. Avoid clumping as well. Okay, so as it sort of comes to the end of a particular piece, just go round and just make sure that any big clumps of paint you've got left over in corners just get spread out a little. Okay. And the other tip is your texture paint itself. Now remember, yeah, that the grit weighs, and so over time what will happen is the grit will sink to the bottom and your textured paint will get thinner. So you need to give this a stir as you're painting it. So, you know, do a piece, give it a stir, do another piece, but just be aware that, you know, if you leave it for a long time, you just keep dipping, in the end you'll just be dipping into paint. Now, obviously, this hasn't been covered completely, and so I'm going to have to give it another coat to get a solid grey on it. Yeah, and what I can do is I can actually leave this to sit a while, so all the grit falls to the bottom and there's very, very little grit at the top, and then just use the top bit of the paint. Okay, just give it a quick stir at the top, use the top bit of the paint just to finish off this layering, and that's what I'm going to do after I've done after I've done the inside of that. But that's all I need to cover with this sort of tutorial, how to get the texture on. So it is simply a matter of or would you prefer me to tell you what, guys? Shouldn't I? I'm going to finish off this front for you so you can see what it's like. So see you in a minute. There you go, guys. Second coat on. Yeah, and it looks a lot better, doesn't it? Okay, now I know you're looking at it and going, yeah, but I mean, I can still see dark patches, Mel. Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's because that's how I actually want it. I mean, if you really want to, you can go along and put another thin coat on and make it completely grey. Yeah, and there's no reason why not. But for painting these, yeah, I actually want some of those darker patches left over. Yeah, and I'll cover that in the next tutorial, which will be painting these up. Okay, but there you have it, guys. That's textured paint for you. And if I sort of do the camera thing, you can see the texturing on the walls. It's really nice. There's plenty of little bits for pick up the paint when we dry brush it in the painting. So you'll see this in the painting, guys. Right, guys. Hope you've liked it. If you have liked it, then click the like button as always. If you're new to my channel and you like terrain stuff, yeah, click the subscribe button, guys. It's down at the bottom. Other than that, guys, yeah, this has been how to do textured paint for City Fight ruins and foamboard ruins and stuff like that. I'm Mel the Terrain Tutor, and I've got a shed load of stuff to do, so I better get out of here. Have a great day, guys. All the best, and ta-ra.